Hey, I'm Steve Krenz for Guitar Gathering. Thank you for joining us on this quick little lesson on how to build a solo guitar jazz arrangement. A lot of times we'll start off with a kind of a real book lead sheet, and then how do you build a full fingerstyle solo guitar arrangement from that? So there is a PDF that goes along with this that you can download. The link for that is in the YouTube description down below, just kind of showing the real book version of this song, kind of the fake book kind of single line, just the melody line and the chords. So if you're doing jazz, you'll do a lot of this. I kind of grew up playing this, and man, this is all you did was take single note lines like this and turn them into fingerstyle arrangements. So that's what we're going to talk about tonight. So let's get right into it. Let's play a little bit of that track, and I'm going to play just a little bit of the melody so you can kind of get it in your ear. This was kind of the main song from the movie Sleepless in Seattle back in the late 90s, and I believe it was even up for a Grammy if I remember right. So let's play just a little few minutes of that track.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, there you go. There's just a little bit of the melody, just kind of for you to get it in your ear there. It's kind of a slow jazz ballad. All right, so here are the steps that I go through to create a solo guitar arrangement out of this. So let's kind of get into this. The first step is you have this lead sheet version of this real book version of the tune. So how do I get from that into a solo guitar arrangement? So the first step one of our 4 steps, is just the basics. You've got to know the melody. So you've got to learn the melody. You've got to take a look and see what we're dealing with here. What key are we in? Well, in this particular song, we're in the key of E flat. And you got to look at the overall form of the song. You've got basically 8 bars, and then you've got a first ending of another 8 bars. Then it goes back to the A section again. Then it goes to the second ending. So you have is basically a 32-bar song, kind of A, B, A, B, A, B, A, C, maybe, something like that, or A, B, A prime, something like that. Kind of a ballad format for jazz, not really the swing format, which is A, A, B, A. This is A, B, A, B prime, maybe, something spins out of it a little bit differently. So anyway, there you go. You kind of notice what the forms are, what's the basic chords that are involved, and you plunk your way through the melody. That's step 1. A good place to play that here is the 3rd position there. It's in the key of E flat. So I'm just kind of getting familiar with the lay of the land, what notes are sharped and flatted. In the key of E flat, we've got B flat, E flat, and A flat. So I'm just learning the melody. I'm paying close attention to the rhythm. One, 2, 3. I just want to make sure I know the melody, because everything that is coming off of is based that you know the melody. So I can't fake it. I can't just kind of know the melody. I've got to know the melody so that I can start to build around it. That's the main thing. Let's take a look at these chords. I'm basically in the key of E flat. Got an E flat major 7th. C7 going to F minor, which is the 2. The 5 then in the key of E flat. That C7 is just kind of a 5 going to the 2. It repeats that. E flat. Oh, got a weird chord here. A flat, D flat. That's another weird one. So I'm just noticing what's unique about these chords. B7 flat 5. And I'm getting them in my ear. So you learn the melody, you learn the chords. Nothing fancy. I'm not adding a bunch of stuff. I'm just getting an idea what I'm dealing with, what the mountain I'm supposed to climb. All right. Then I also want to decide, where do I want to play it on guitar? Now, on some songs, this is a big, this is a big consideration. I want to take it from whatever key it's in. It may be in some not a guitar-friendly key, and I want to put it in a guitar-friendly key. But since this is a jazz thing, I'm just going to go ahead and keep it in E flat where it's at. And we'll see if we can build something around that using more jazz shapes instead of going for open strings. So I'm just going to keep it in the key that I'm at. But that's kind of phase one. You learn the melody, you learn the chords, and you kind of get a lay of the land, keys and key signatures, all that sort of stuff. And then you want to decide at this point, where do I want to put it on guitar? And this, for this purposes now, I'm going to leave it right where it's at. In guitar, or in a jazz, we kind of like, we don't like open strings as much as other styles of music, so I'm just going to keep it in E flat. Okay? Step 2 of our 4 steps. You got ready? The first step is just kind of figuring out the lay of what you're dealing with. Step 2. All right, now I want to add some of the structure of what's happening here. So first thing I'm going to do is add the bass line. So I'm going to try and play the melody and add the bass note of each chord. So here's the melody. And I'm going to add the bass note of each chord. There's the E flat. So already I'm kind of having to figure out how my hand can fit all of these notes in. All I'm doing is playing the bass note and the melody. So you get the idea. I'm just trying to, and it's a little bit of finger twister here at this stage, because you're just trying to figure out how can I play the melody and fit a bass note in underneath it. So it starts to kind of tell you where you want to play it. Like if I was playing this note here, well, that gets a little tough to play an E flat with that. Okay, there's not one right answer here yet. You're going to eventually, you're just kind of figuring out. Some choices are better than others. Some areas of the neck are going to be better than others. And I'm just kind of figuring my way out for that at this point. You'll also notice that I'm reading, it's written like this. But that's not how I'm reading it as a guitar player. I'm going to immediately put that thing up an octave. So another one of the considerations back in step 1 is where can I fit it on the guitar that it's going to work? And in E flat, the highest melody note is going to be here, and the lowest melody note is going to be here. So actually it's pretty wide for a melody, but all doable. So I'm reading it an octave up from what it's written at. Common thing to do in jazz guitar. In fact, you do it all the time, almost exclusively. I hardly ever read something in the opposite or in the octave that it's written in. It's just too low. I want to get it up to where the melody's kind of on the upper range of the instrument. Okay, so I've added the bass line now. Now I want to add basic chords in between these two. I've got my melody as the top voice, I've got my bass line as the lower voice, and now I'm just going to try and squeeze as much chord in as I can between them. Am I going to be able to get all of them? No. Am I going to be able to get my favorite chord in there? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. So I'm kind of isolating where these problems are going to be. So if I do my E flat, well, if here's the B flat of the top melody note of the first note of the song, I don't have much room for an E flat chord underneath here, so maybe I could just do this. And then I've got this C7, but I've got an A flat at the top. That's a little bit of an awkward fingering. That might be one I can solve. So I'm trying to take a familiar shape, in this case an F minor 7th, and I'm trying to figure out how I can get that melody note on top of that. And then a B flat. I'm not doing any fancy chords things, I'm just kind of figuring out under the lay of the land. That's going to be a big jump. Maybe I might put that A flat higher. So some of these are working and some of them are a little awkward. And that's what you're trying to identify. What chord is going to be the problem? I tell you one chord that's going to be a specific problem. When I get to the second ending, this one, an A flat with a high D. Well, there's not much I can do, especially without a cutaway. Maybe I could play that chord. Then I have to jump down there. So that I identify real quick that that's going to be a problem. I'll have to kind of solve that. So I'm playing that. I've got the melody line, I've got the bass line, and now I've tried to squeeze as much of the chord as I can in between the two. Just doing a chord. I'm not trying to arpeggiate or anything like that. I'm just trying to get the lay of the land of the chord. Okay? All right. That's step 1 and step 2. Just basically conquering the thing. Now, here's where the fun begins. Step 3 and step 4. Okay? So the foundation is just that. Step 1 and 2. Identify the melody, identify the chords, and try to fit them in there between the two. All right, that's the lowest level of what's happening here. Now we start to have some fun. All right, step 3, what do we get into there? We are going to explore several different things. One of the first items is chord embellishment. Chord embellishment, what does that mean? Well, instead of an E flat major 7th, maybe I could play an E flat major 9th. Or an E flat 2. Or maybe instead of an A flat major 7th, I could play an A flat major 13th. You know, so I'm embellishing. Think of it like ornaments on a Christmas tree. And that's what jazz is all about, is how wonderfully can I embellish these chords. So instead of a C7, second chord of the song, maybe I can do, it's got kind of a raised 6th note up there. Maybe I could do kind of a sharp 9, sharp 5 on it. Oh, that sounds good now. So I'm exploring chord embellishment. Okay, well, what can I add? I can to that B flat 7. Well, instead of a B flat 7, maybe I can play a B flat 13th. And then maybe I could do an off. That sounded good. We'll do that again. Still might need to find something else there. That doesn't work out too well on guitar. What did I do there? That's another one of the ideas we could do. We can do chord embellishment. The other thing that we can do is chord substitution. I can take one chord and I can substitute another chord in for it. So here's the chord substitution, kind of things that you can do with that. We've talked about this in other guitar lessons as well, but here are some of the simple ideas that you can do. We did a thing on a couple of shows on the jazz deck, which is a kind of a deck of cards that has different chord substitutions on it. If you're familiar with, or if you want to get familiar with jazz chord substitutions, that's a good little lesson to start out with. I'll try and link that in the YouTube description. But here are the basics ones. Over an E flat major 7th, over a major 7th chord, I can go up to its 3rd, G minor 7th, and I can play that. Substitute that sometimes in for an E flat major 7th. I could play a G minor 7th. Just an idea. And it works both ways. If I'm on the F minor 7th and bar 2, I could go up to its 3rd, which is an A flat, and then flip it and become an A flat major 7th. And I can substitute an A flat major 7th for an F minor. Okay, don't get lost on me. I just went up to the 3rd and I did whatever I needed to do. If it's a major chord, then I flip it to minor. Like a C major 7th, I would flip to an E minor 7th. An F minor 7th, I would flip to an A flat major 7th. So I'm going up to whatever the 3rd is and flipping the type of chord. That's one chord substitution. Oh, another simple one is like over that C7. I could go up to its 3rd, which is an E, and I could do a minor 7th flat 5. Oh, Steve, you're throwing too many chords at me. I don't know what's going on. Okay, there's basically only 3 I've done so far. From the major chord, let's say a C major 7th, I can go up to its 3rd, which is the E, and I could flip it and become an E minor 7th. So a C major 7th and E minor 7th, I could substitute in for that. On a minor side, let's say I have an F minor, I could go up to its 3rd, the A flat, flip the major and minor, and play an A flat major over the F minor. Now the 3rd one we just did was if I have a 7th chord, dominant 7th, 9th, 11th, something like that, I can go up to its 3rd, in this case a C7, I could go up to its 3rd, C, D, E, and play a minor 7 flat 5, also called a half diminished. Okay? Whew! Getting into some theory now. Come on, welcome to jazz. This is all the fun, is being able to do this. Now there's a few other ones I can do along the way, but that's some of the basic ones. So sometimes you can get yourself out of a jam by doing some chord substitution problems as well. So we can do chord embellishment. I can do chord substitution. What else I can do? Hey, I can just completely change the chord. You know, if I want to do something that sounds better, I'll do that. Like, let's take a look at, what was I doing there? In the second line, it goes, and it has that A flat. Which sounds a little awkward, that A flat. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to do something else. I'm going to do, let's say, a G minor 7 flat 5 and add that C to it. And change the chord to that. Hear how it sounds. Oh, works great. But Steve, how did you know to do that? I don't know. I'm just stumbling around here. This chord just didn't sound fit right on guitar. Now, is it going to work on piano? Oh yeah, it may work on piano, may work on other instruments, but on guitar it's just kind of there just wasn't a good A flat 7th that sounded good. It sounded a little plain. So I just switched it to this chord, G minor 7 flat 5 with that added C, a very common jazz form. And that sounded perfect. Worked out great there, didn't it? Over that D flat 7, I'm going up to its 3rd and playing minor 7 flat 5. And then over the C7, I'm doing the same thing. Going up to E and doing minor 7 flat 5. Okay, so now that line is now F7 with a root as the highest note. Well, I can play that, but that's boring. Okay, let's make that an F13th, but I still have to have that F as the highest note. So here's a form for that. Then it has a B flat 7 flat 5 or B 7 flat 5. That's cool and all, but what if over that B flat 7 I did this chord? Well, then I gotta get somehow to fit a chord in between this and this. So what if I did move one note, da 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 da. Now I have a little line. What is this note? What is this chord? I don't know. It just sounded good. Here, I wanted this note to move here, and then to here, maybe even to here. Okay, so I have to just figure out how to play that. We started out here. The only note I move is this one. So I have to kind of switch my fingers around. And then we went to here. What if I went down and turned this into B flat 7, turned it into a D diminished? Oh, it's brilliant. Listen to that. Now I've got a little melodic line happening there. And what did I do there? I did some chord embellishment. I did a little bit of chord substitution. I just fiddled around and figured out, well, I wanted a different change in the chord. So I don't know. I don't even know what this chord is. What is that, an F? I don't know. An F augmented with an E flat in the bass? I don't know what it is. It's just this shape moving down that inner note. Don't be afraid of that. By golly, don't be afraid of that. To create some wonderful magic by just moving this junk around there and just figuring out what works. Okay, so that's some different things you can try. Chord embellishment, substitution, I can just change it. Or I could do some bass movement things. What would be a bass movement place I could put there? Maybe at the end of the song. Last line. Oh, that's an F minor to a B flat. I have a dum. What if I just did something different? Oh, I've got a C. Ooh, look at in front of that. I've got a C. And then I'm eventually going to go to a B flat. What if I put a B right in between that? Ooh, okay. But I've got to have an E flat as the highest note. So what if we did that? I'm changing the bass movement. And then I want to put a B here. Okay. What is that? That's kind of a B ninth? Hey, that kind of worked. So I get a... Instead of the E flat, maybe I could do like a 3-6-2-5, a G minor with an E flat in the top note. Hey, that worked. What if I wanted to just keep going down? E major 7th. Steve, what magic are you doing there? A G minor with an E flat in the bass, or E flat as the upper note, which I guess would be kind of like an E flat 2. And then I just slid this down, kept this up at the top, and then I slid it down again. Hey, can I go down even more? Well, that doesn't sound good, but I could do a... What if I did an E major 7th? And then eventually spin out to that E flat. Oh, man, so now we have... All right, so we're starting to sound good now. And along the way, I'm kind of writing in chord changes along the way to see if I can fit something else. All right, so we've added embellishments and substitutions and chord changes, different changes and bass movements. We've done some stuff. Now the final step is I want to try and add just a little spice, little sprinkles, a little filigree here and there, a little fill, a little single note line, something like that to. A single note fill just to kind of vary it up a little bit so it's not just block chords. So what if I did something maybe coming out of that first ending there? I was on the high B flat, then I wanted to go this da 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 dum, and to get me down to that melody note again. I'm on that E flat for a whole note. Man, that's an eternity in jazz. So maybe I can do a little fill there. To E flat. What was that? Hey. It works both ways. Over that B flat, I did a D minor 7 flat 5. What if I did just a D minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio? And end up on that B flat. Ooh, what if I did that? And I could still catch in my lick in there. D, F, A flat, C. That's a D major, or excuse me, D minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio. I threw over that B flat 7 and created a little single note line on it. All right, so all of that I've done now. And now let's see what kind of an arrangement we have come up with. Now, am I saying this is the best thing that's ever happened in the history of guitar? No. I'm just saying this is a way to do it. All right? So let me get tuned up here. I'm on a nylon string guitar, so my underneath these hot lights, my nylon strings get a little wonky. All right, so and I'll try and talk you through ways to do this. And I know I'm throwing a lot of theory at you. But that's okay. You just use the theory that you know and try and create something. You don't have to understand all this stuff to kind of just make your fingers just fiddle around, see if you can find some different things. All right, so here we go. Let's see what we got. Over that E flat major 7th, I don't have time to do a whole, don't have space to do a whole E flat major, but maybe I can do at least an E flat 2. There's our C augmented with a sharp 9 there. Oh, maybe I could throw a little E diminished for over that last one. F minor 7, maybe a little A flat major 7th there. Maybe I could do my little walk down. Ooh, maybe over that F minor 7th. Maybe I could play, kind of work my way up to that B flat coming. So I'm going to do maybe an F augmented 7, or kind of an F or an A diminished with that D flat in it, going to the B flat. Steve, what on earth is that chord? I don't know. An A diminished with add an added C sharp in there. G minor 7 flat 5 instead of that A flat 7. Just kind of arpeggiating these chords. A flat major 9th there. A flat major 13th. Now I can't, it's hard to play that F way over here, so I'm just going to skip it. A flat major 13th. Or maybe add a little line. Just kind of embellishing the melody line there. F minor 11th there. There you go. Whew. I know that was a lot, but I wanted to just kind of walk you through steps of it. Now, there's probably some chords that you don't understand there. That's okay. Don't get intimidated by it all. It's just another chord that you need to learn. it's just another little chord that you need to learn. Jazz has its forms just like other styles have their forms. In fact, I did a whole series on jazz chord forms, a fretboard workout series. If you're interested in learning a lot of these forms, probably most of the ones that I played, I would encourage you to check out that fretboard workout series on jazz chords. Anyway, those are the 4 steps of how I build a single note or a solo guitar arrangement from a single note lead sheet. Steps: the basics, learn the melody, learn the chords. Step 2, build a basic structure. I add the bass line. I add the chords in between. Step 3, I start embellishing the chords, maybe substituting a few of the problematic ones or some things to try and make some lines happen. And I'm not as worried about making sure that every chord is harmonically correct. I just want to make sure that it works. It works, in the sound. And step 4 is I try and add some arpeggios or something like that to try and get some single note lines moving in between it. And that's kind of my basic steps for creating a solo jazz guitar arrangement from a real book type lead sheet. So thank you for joining us on this. I hope you've learned something. Experiment with these concepts, and we'll see you next time.